Have you ever felt lost? Like you're just going through the motions of life without really knowing why? Maybe you wake up each morning, go to work, come home, and repeat the same routine day after day, but deep down, you feel like something's missing. You're not alone. Millions of people around the world ask themselves the same question. What's my purpose in life? It's a big question, and it can feel overwhelming. But here's the exciting part. Finding your soul purpose can totally change your life. Now, when I say soul purpose, don't worry. We're not talking about anything complicated or hard to understand. Your soul purpose is simply the reason you're here on this planet. It's what makes you, well, you. And discovering it isn't about doing something huge or becoming famous. It's about being true to yourself and living a life that feels right for you. Think about it for a moment. What if you woke up every day feeling excited about what you're going to do? What if your life felt meaningful and important, not because you're doing big, showy things, but because you're living in a way that feels true to who you are? That's what finding your soul purpose can do for you. But here's the thing. If you don't know your purpose, life can feel pretty empty. It's like trying to put together a puzzle without knowing what the picture is supposed to look like. You might try different pieces, but nothing quite fits. And that can leave you feeling frustrated, bored, or just plain unhappy. Sadly, many people go through their whole lives feeling this way. They might have good jobs, nice homes, and loving families, but still feel like something's missing. They can't shake the feeling that they're meant for something more, but they don't know what that something is. The good news is, it doesn't have to be this way. When you find your soul purpose, everything changes. Suddenly, life has direction. You feel more joyful, more alive. Even the small, everyday things start to feel more meaningful because you understand how they fit into the bigger picture of your life. Okay, so we've talked about how important finding your soul purpose is. But what exactly is it? Let's break it down in simple terms. Your soul purpose is your unique way of bringing good to the world. It's not just about what you do for a living, although your job might be part of it. It's bigger than that. It's about how you live your life, how you treat others, and what you stand for. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a puzzle piece. There's only one spot in the whole puzzle where you fit perfectly. That spot is your soul purpose. When you find it, you're not just completing the puzzle. You're making the whole picture more beautiful. Now, here's something really important to understand. Your soul purpose doesn't have to be something huge or world-changing. It's not about becoming a famous actor or inventing something that changes the world or making tons of money, unless those things truly align with who you are. For most of us, our soul purpose is something much simpler and more personal. Maybe your purpose is to be a really great listener, always there for your friends when they need support. Or maybe it's to create beautiful gardens that bring joy to your neighborhood. It could be to raise kind, compassionate children, or to help people learn a new skill, or to make people laugh when they're feeling down. The key is that your soul purpose is uniquely yours. It's not about living up to someone else's expectations or following a path that society says you should. It's about figuring out what feels right for you, what makes you feel alive and fulfilled. And here's another important thing to remember. Your soul purpose isn't just one specific job or role. It's more like a guiding principle that can express itself in many different ways throughout your life. For example, if your purpose is to help others heal, you might do that as a doctor, a counselor, a massage therapist, or even just as a caring friend. The specific form it takes might change, but the core purpose remains the same. Finding your soul purpose is like tuning into a radio station. At first, you might just hear static. But as you turn the dial, which we'll talk about how to do in a bit, the signal gets clearer and clearer. Eventually, you'll hear the music loud and clear, and it'll be the sweetest sound you've ever heard. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually find my soul purpose? Don't worry, we're going to get into that. But first, it's helpful to understand some signs that you might not have found your purpose yet. Recognizing these signs can be the first step towards making a change. Let's talk about some common feelings and experiences that might suggest you haven't quite found your soul purpose yet. Remember, if you recognize these signs in yourself, it's not a bad thing. It just means you're ready to start an exciting journey of self-discovery. One of the biggest signs that you haven't found your soul purpose is feeling bored or unhappy a lot of the time. Now, everyone has bad days or moments of boredom now and then. That's normal. But if you find yourself feeling this way most of the time, it might be a sign that something's missing. Maybe you drag yourself out of bed in the morning, dreading another day at work. Or perhaps you find yourself constantly scrolling through your phone, looking for something, anything, to capture your interest. You might even feel irritable or grumpy often and not really know why. These feelings of boredom or unhappiness are like your soul's way of telling you, hey, this isn't quite right. There's something more for you out there. It's not about being ungrateful for what you have. It's about recognizing that you have the potential for a more fulfilling life. Another sign is when you're not excited about your daily life. Think about it. When was the last time you felt really pumped up about your day ahead? If you can't remember, or if it's been a long time, that might be a clue. When you're living your soul purpose, you'll have a sense of excitement about what you're doing. Sure, not every single moment will be thrilling, but overall, you'll feel a sense of anticipation and joy about your activities. If instead, you find yourself just going through the motions, wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, repeat, it might be a sign that you're not fully aligned with your purpose. Life shouldn't feel like a never-ending to-do list. It should feel more like an adventure, even in small ways. This is a big one. Many people who haven't found their soul purpose describe feeling like there's a hole in their life. It's a vague sense that something's not quite right, even if they can't put their finger on what it is. You might have a good job, a nice home, great friends, all the things that are supposed to make you happy. But still, there's this nagging feeling that there should be something more. It's like having an itch you can't scratch, or a word on the tip of your tongue that you just can't remember. This feeling isn't something to be afraid of or to push away. It's actually a good thing. It's your inner wisdom telling you that you have more potential, more to offer, more to experience. It's the first step towards finding your true path. Do you find yourself always looking for the next job, the next relationship, the next place to live, thinking that will finally make you happy? This constant search for something new can be a sign that you haven't found your soul purpose. When you're not aligned with your purpose, it's easy to think that external changes will fill that void. You might think, if I just get that promotion, I'll be happy, or if I move to a new city, everything will be better. But then when you get those things, the satisfaction is short-lived, and you're soon looking for the next change. This happens because the real change you're looking for isn't external, it's internal. It's about finding that sense of purpose and meaning that comes from within. Lastly, if you find yourself often feeling jealous of people who seem to have found their calling, it might be a sign you're still searching for yours. Maybe you have a friend who absolutely loves their job and talks about it with real passion. Or you follow someone on social media who seems to be living their dream life. If these people inspire a mix of admiration and envy in you, pay attention to that feeling. It's not about wanting exactly what they have. Remember, your soul purpose is unique to you. But that feeling is a clue that you're craving the sense of fulfillment and alignment that comes from living your purpose. Remember, recognizing these signs isn't about beating yourself up or feeling bad. It's about being honest with yourself so you can start taking steps towards a more fulfilling life. Every person who's living their soul purpose had to start somewhere, and many of them probably experienced these same feelings before they found their way. The journey to finding your soul purpose is just that, a journey. It takes time, self-reflection, and often a bit of trial and error. But the reward, a life filled with meaning, joy, and a sense of rightness, is absolutely worth it. In the next sections, we'll talk about practical steps you can take to start uncovering your soul purpose. But for now, just acknowledging where you are is a huge first step. Be kind to yourself and get excited. You're at the beginning of an amazing adventure. Now that we've talked about what soul purpose is and some signs that you might not have found yours yet, let's dive into how you can start discovering it. The first big step is connecting with your inner self. This might sound a bit mysterious, but it's actually pretty simple. Think of your inner self as the quiet voice inside you that often gets drowned out by the noise of everyday life. It's the part of you that knows what truly makes you happy, what you really care about, and what feels right for you. To hear this voice, you need to create some quiet space in your life. One of the best ways to do this is to spend some time alone. This doesn't mean you need to go on a week-long silent retreat, although you could if you want to. It can be as simple as taking 10 minutes each day to sit quietly. Find a comfortable spot where you won't be disturbed. It could be in your bedroom, in a park, or even in your car before you start your workday. During this quiet time, try to just be with yourself. You don't need to do anything special. Just pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. What comes up when you're not distracted by your phone, TV, or other people? What do you think about? What feelings bubble up? At first, your mind might be really busy, jumping from thought to thought. That's okay. Just notice the thoughts without judging them. Over time, you might start to notice patterns. Maybe certain ideas or feelings keep coming up. These could be clues about what's really important to you. Another great way to connect with your inner self is through journaling. Writing down your thoughts can help you understand yourself better. You might be surprised by what comes out when you start putting pen to paper. Don't worry about writing perfectly. This is just for you. Write about your dreams, your fears, what makes you happy, what frustrates you. Over time, you might start to see themes emerging that point towards your soul purpose. Listening to your thoughts and feelings is crucial in this process. Often, we push away feelings we think we shouldn't have, or ignore thoughts that seem impractical. But these thoughts and feelings are important messages from your inner self. Maybe you keep having thoughts about starting a community garden, but you push them away because you think it's not practical. Those thoughts might be pointing you towards a sole purpose of bringing people together or connecting with nature. Pay special attention to what makes you happy, not what you think should make you happy or what makes other people happy, but what truly brings you joy. It could be something as simple as cooking for friends, solving puzzles, or spending time with animals. These moments of genuine happiness are big clues about your soul purpose. Remember, connecting with your inner self is a skill that takes practice. Be patient with yourself. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to hear that inner voice and understand what it's telling you about your soul purpose. Believe it or not, your childhood holds a lot of clues about your soul purpose. When we're kids, we're often more in touch with our true selves. We haven't yet learned to ignore our inner voice or to do things just because we think we should. So, taking a trip down memory lane can be really helpful in discovering your soul purpose. Think back to what you loved doing as a kid. What activities made you lose track of time? Maybe you spent hours drawing, or you loved organizing games for the neighborhood kids, or you were always rescuing stray animals. These childhood passions often point towards our soul purpose. For example, if you love drawing, your soul purpose might involve creativity or helping others express themselves. If you were always organizing games, maybe your purpose involves bringing people together or leadership. If you were the neighborhood animal rescuer, your purpose might be about caring for others or advocating for those who can't speak for themselves. It's also worth remembering your childhood dreams and hopes. What did you want to be when you grew up? Now, I'm not saying that if you wanted to be an astronaut, that's definitely your sole purpose. But think about why you wanted that. Was it because you loved the idea of exploring unknown places? Was it the science that fascinated you? Or was it the idea of doing something extraordinary? The reasons behind your childhood dreams can give you insights into your sole purpose. Another helpful exercise is to think about the things adults used to say about you when you were a kid. Did they always comment on how kind you were? Or how you could always make people laugh? Or how you never gave up, even when things were hard? Often, others can see our innate qualities more clearly than we can, especially when we're young. Don't worry if you can't remember much from your childhood. You can ask family members or old friends what they remember about you as a kid. Sometimes their memories can jog your own or give you new insights. It's important to note that your sole purpose isn't necessarily about recreating your childhood or living out old dreams exactly as they were. Instead, it's about recognizing the essence of what made you happy and felt natural to you as a child. Those core elements often remain part of our sole purpose throughout our lives, even if they express themselves differently as adults. For instance, a child who loved putting on plays for the family might grow up to have a sole purpose related to storytelling or bringing ideas to life, but that could express itself through being a teacher, a marketer, or a community organizer, not necessarily an actor. As you reflect on your childhood, be open to surprises. You might rediscover passions you'd forgotten about or realize that something you've always loved has been pointing towards your purpose all along. This process of looking back can be a powerful way to reconnect with your true self and get clearer on your soul purpose. Another important clue in discovering your soul purpose is paying attention to what comes naturally to you. These are the things you do easily, often without even thinking about it. They're your natural talents and strengths, and they can be big signposts pointing towards your soul purpose. Think about the things you do that other people often comment on. Do friends always tell you that you give great advice? Or that you have a knack for explaining complicated things simply? Or maybe people often remark on how you can fix anything, or how you always know how to make a space look beautiful. These compliments aren't just nice to hear, they're valuable information about your natural abilities. It's also worth considering what people often ask you for help with. Are you the person everyone calls when they need a shoulder to cry on? Or when they need help planning an event? Or when their computer is acting up? The things people consistently turn to you for are usually the things you're naturally good at. Now, you might be thinking, but the things that come easily to me don't seem special. Surely my sole purpose should be something more difficult or impressive. This is a common misconception. Your sole purpose doesn't have to be hard or complicated. In fact, it often aligns closely with your natural strengths. Think about it this way. We're all given unique gifts and talents. These aren't random, they're tools to help us fulfill our purpose. If you're naturally good at listening and giving advice, that might be because your sole purpose involves helping others navigate their problems. If you have a knack for numbers, maybe your purpose involves using that skill to help people or businesses thrive financially. It's also important to pay attention to the tasks or activities where you lose track of time. You know those moments when you look up and suddenly realize hours have passed without you noticing? That state of flow is often a sign that you're doing something aligned with your sole purpose. For example, maybe you get totally absorbed when you're gardening, or when you're solving a tricky problem at work, or when you're teaching someone a new skill. These moments of flow are your soul's way of saying, hey, this is important. This is something you're meant to be doing. Remember, your sole purpose often lies at the intersection of what you're good at and what you love doing. It's where your talents meet your passions. So as you're noticing what comes easily to you, also think about which of these things you genuinely enjoy. It's also worth noting that sometimes we undervalue our natural talents precisely because they come easily to us. We might think, oh, anyone could do that. But that's usually not true. Your natural abilities are unique to you, and they're an important part of your sole purpose. As you go through your day, start paying more attention to these moments of ease and flow. Notice when you're doing something that feels effortless and enjoyable. These are important clues on your journey to discovering your sole purpose. They're like little nudges from the universe, pointing you in the right direction. Remember, finding your sole purpose isn't about suddenly discovering you have some dramatic, hidden talent. It's about recognizing and valuing the unique combination of abilities you already have, and figuring out how to use them in a way that feels meaningful to you and beneficial to the world around you. One of the most powerful ways to find your sole purpose is to follow your excitement. This might sound simple, and in a way, it is. But it's also something many of us forget to do as we get caught up in the responsibilities and expectations of adult life. When we talk about following your excitement, we're not just talking about doing whatever feels good in the moment. It's about paying attention to the things that light you up inside, that make you feel truly alive and engaged. Start by trying new things that interest you. Maybe you've always been curious about painting, or you've thought about learning a new language, or you're interested in volunteering at a local animal shelter. Whatever it is, give it a try. You don't have to commit to anything long-term right away. The goal is to expose yourself to new experiences and see what resonates with you. As you try these new things, pay close attention to how you feel. What activities make you lose track of time? What are you doing when you feel most energized and alive? These are important clues about your sole purpose. For example, maybe you try a cooking class and find that you absolutely love creating new recipes. This could be pointing towards a sole purpose related to nourishing others or expressing creativity through food. Or perhaps you volunteer at a literacy program and discover that helping others learn to read is incredibly fulfilling. This might indicate a soul purpose related to education or empowering others. Remember, your excitement doesn't have to be about something grand or world-changing. It could be as simple as realizing you love organizing things, or that you feel most alive when you're in nature, or that you get a thrill from solving puzzles. These seemingly small sources of joy can be huge clues about your larger purpose. It's also important to notice what you find yourself thinking about in your free time. What topics do you love learning about? What kinds of books or articles do you naturally gravitate towards? What do you find yourself daydreaming about? These natural interests are often closely tied to your soul purpose. Following your excitement might mean making some changes in your life. It might mean taking a class, starting a new hobby, or even shifting your career path. This can feel scary, but remember, when you're aligned with your soul purpose, you'll feel a sense of rightness that makes the challenges worthwhile. A key aspect of finding your soul purpose often involves discovering how you can best serve others. This doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own happiness. In fact, true service often brings deep fulfillment and joy. Think about how you can help people or make their lives better. This could be in big ways or small ways. Maybe you're great at explaining complex ideas. You could use that skill to teach or to create resources that help people learn. Or perhaps you have a knack for making people feel comfortable and heard. You might find your purpose in counseling or in creating welcoming spaces for your community. Your soul purpose often lies at the intersection of what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what helps others. For example, if you love animals and are good with your hands, you might find your purpose in veterinary work or in crafting comfortable spaces for pets. If you're passionate about the environment and great at organizing, you might find your purpose in leading community cleanup efforts or in helping businesses become more sustainable. Remember, serving others doesn't always mean direct, one-on-one help. You might serve others through art that inspires people, or through developing technology that makes life easier, or through creating beautiful gardens that bring joy to your neighborhood. The key is to think about how your natural talents and interests can be used to bring something positive to the world around you. As you explore different ways of serving, pay attention to what feels most fulfilling to you. Where do you feel like you're making the biggest difference? What kind of service leaves you feeling energized rather than drained? These are important clues about your soul purpose. It's also worth noting that your way of serving might change over time, and that's okay. Your core purpose might remain the same, but how you express it could evolve as you grow and as the needs around you change. Finding your soul purpose isn't just about thinking and reflecting. It also requires action. Start doing things that feel right, even if you're not 100% sure they're part of your purpose. Every action you take gives you more information about what does and doesn't align with your soul purpose. If you feel drawn to writing, start a blog or a journal. If you're interested in helping your community, volunteer for different organizations. If you love nature, spend more time outdoors and see what ideas or opportunities arise. The key is to start moving in directions that feel good to you. As you take these actions, pay attention to how you feel. Do you feel energized and excited? Or do you feel drained and uninspired? Your feelings are important feedback about whether you're moving in the right direction. It's also important to remember that finding your soul purpose is a journey, not a destination. It's okay if it takes time to figure out. In fact, for many people, their sense of purpose evolves and deepens throughout their life. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. Don't be discouraged if you try something and it doesn't feel right. That's valuable information too. Every no gets you closer to your yes. If you try volunteering at a hospital and find it's not for you, that doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you've learned something about yourself and can now explore other avenues. Remember, your soul purpose doesn't have to be one specific job or role. It's more like a guiding principle that can express itself in many different ways throughout your life. Stay open to possibilities and be willing to adjust your course as you learn more about yourself. Finding your soul purpose is a deeply personal journey, but it's one that can bring immense fulfillment and joy to your life. By connecting with your inner self, looking back at your childhood passions, noticing what comes easily to you, following your excitement, finding ways to serve others, and taking action, You're well on your way to uncovering your unique purpose. Remember, your soul purpose isn't about living up to someone else's expectations or following a predetermined path. It's about discovering what feels truly right for you. What makes you feel alive, fulfilled, and like you're contributing something meaningful to the world. As you continue on this journey, be kind to yourself. Celebrate the small discoveries and insights along the way. Trust that as you stay open and keep exploring, your purpose will become clearer and clearer. Finding your soul purpose isn't always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. It can bring a sense of meaning and direction to your life that goes beyond just having a successful career or achieving certain goals. It's about living in a way that feels authentic and aligned with who you truly are. So take that first step. Start exploring. Listen to your inner voice. Try new things. Serve others in ways that feel good to you. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Because in many ways, the process of discovering your soul purpose is just as valuable as the purpose itself. Your soul purpose is uniquely yours, waiting to be uncovered. It's the special gift that only you can give to the world. As you move forward on this path, trust that you have everything you need within you to discover and live your purpose. The world is waiting for your unique contribution. So go out there and shine your light.